The first piece is a framed owl print. We'll be using a staple gun here, but you can use tacks, nails, whatever. Going to use some black chalk paint, whatever shade of black you prefer. This is rich black. Then I'm going to be using a couple of different brushes. I'll use this espresso paint. It's like a aged bronze look to me. I love it. I use it for a lot of projects. This piece that I thrifted, it's like maybe a resin or something, but it's a wall hanging and has a little bit of information in there, but you know, I can't read that. So here's a frame that we've already flipped one time. I've just removed the mat and the picture that was in it, and we're going to use it again. You can see how I made my hanger on the top. Now look at this print, y'all. Are you ready? Look at this beautiful owl. And the peaches, orange, and the rust colors, that red back there. Here's the size of that print. Okay, so I'm going to take my chalk painting brush here. Love that it has a tip on it because you can get into the corners and the detailed areas very nicely. This is such a dense brush that it holds a ton of paint. I mean, you can really get that stuff on quickly. So I am just going to use that to apply this all over. If you don't have a chalk paint brush, that's fine. Just use whatever you want to get this down on your frame. And this is a wooden frame. After we've gone all the way around on the outsides and the inside as well, I'm just going to dry it quickly. Chalk paint dries pretty quick anyway, but I like to speed it along for the videos. Okay, so we're going to put this down, and I know I'm going to put it on this mat that's in the back. This is just a canvas, you can see here. But my picture is so wrinkled, I was afraid to use heat on it, and the tool that I was using did not get the wrinkles out. So I thought, well, if we use Mod Podge to put it down on here, it ought to press all of the wrinkles out. And I'm very happy with the results. You can be the judge yourself. So I'm just going to use matte Mod Podge on here and put a nice even coat, but it is a rather thick coat, if I had to describe it in my own terms. And I'm going to make sure that my brush strokes are going in the same direction. I have a couple of little flakes from around the top of the bottle. You know, it gets kind of crusty. We call those glue boogers. I know it sounds gross, but that's what we call them. Sometimes they get down into the glue, so I was just kind of scraping those off. Okay, I hope y'all aren't easily offended on this channel, because you know. All right, so I'm just going to put it down first with my hands, kind of eyeballing where the edges are. And then I'll take the little brayer with the little squeegee on the other side. This is a Mod Podge tool, and I'm just going to go over this and press it down almost like I'm ironing it out. I want to get wrinkles and bubbles out and make it nice and flat, like it was already stretched onto a canvas, right? Now, if you get some of that matte Mod Podge on the front of your picture, which I did do, it's very easy to get off while it's still wet. So don't be too alarmed. I'm just using a water wipe, which is just a baby wipe that doesn't have anything but water on it. And I'm going to wipe over this entire thing. And then I'll take dry paper towels and go back over it. And this will take off any residue. You can do this if you accidentally bump it with paint too. You can just, wipe that off. It's always worked for me, so that's what I keep doing. And it's, pretty cheap. Pretty cheap. Okay. Everything looks good, and we are going to move on to this. Now, I did put some heavy pieces on top of that canvas to dry, and I did let that dry overnight. Moving on to this, we are going to go over this entire gold piece with this black chalk paint. There are lots of nooks and crannies all over this pretty piece, so I'm going to be sure to get in all those areas. This pointed brush works great for that. And I'm going to go around onto the back part of it as well in just a couple of little sections. All right, so now the frame is dry and this beautiful little decorative piece is dry. I want to put this onto the frame to make it look like maybe it was made this way. So I'm just going to get the measurement that I like, the position on one side. I'll measure that down, mark it with a pencil, and then I'll go on to the other side and mark that with a pencil too. So I get it in the exact correct position. And I'm just going to use some Gorilla Hot Glue for mine. But if you want this to be permanent, be sure you're using some type of a super glue here. You could even use a brad nailer if your piece was wooden, but this is resin. Easy enough, right? So if you enjoy this video and you've seen other videos of mine that you like, please consider subscribing to my channel. We do a variety of stuff here. I try to make a little something for everybody. We have viewers from all over the place with all different kinds of beliefs, and everyone is welcome here as long as you are kind and positive, right? We want to keep this a happy place. So once we put this down, I'm going to just scrape away any excess glue that happens to poke out, and just using a little sanding stick over there, using the slanted side to clean it out. And I'm going to add some hot glue in the areas that are touching the back, just for more support. I'm going to take that espresso paint, load it into the brush, tap some of it off, and then we're going to dry brush this across. Now, when I say dry brush, I really load it. I load the paint into the brush, okay? But by pouncing it up and down, it pushes the paint up the fibers into the brush, and you're not putting on as much as you might think that you're putting on, which is the idea here. This is going to be like a highlighter, right? It's going to bring out all the details in that frame. When it was black, you couldn't see those details, could you? But now that we're brushing that over the top of it, and to me, it's like a bronzy color, and I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I like that. It brings out the highlights, that metallic. You could use a silver here. You could use gold, whatever you like. And then I'm going to make sure I get all the way around on the edges of the backside, the inside, all the areas, and then I'll move on to this section and watch the beauty here. Look at this. Is that not like, oh, it looks so pretty to me. And it's always a surprise when you're using paint what you're going to come out with. You know, I have so many people with good ideas of how they would make things their own, and I love it. I love it. I love how people say, you know, I'm inspired and I know what I'm going to do. They may not have the same pieces, but they have something similar that gave them an idea. They're going to go pull it out of their craft stash and they're going to work on it. And that is wonderful, because this piece, this style to me, is something that I really love. It looks like an old tarnished bronze piece. And look at that. And to me, that looks like it could be one piece, like maybe it was made that way. After the canvas is dried, I'm going to go back over with just a little craft knife, and I'm going to trim off the extra canvas because we don't need that. And it's just a little bit on the top and on the bottom because this is a TEMU piece, and they have a white edge around it. I think a lot of canvases that you ordered do. And I'm just kind of trimming that section off. We don't need it, and the white around the edges here you won't see because it's going to be in the frame. This mat is bigger than the frame, and I like that because it gives it a recessed look, which gives it a little bit more of a richness, I think, rather than it being straight in the front or flush on the front. And I'm just going to use my staple gun here to staple these into place. These are short staples. I don't know the exact measurement, but I use this for almost everything I craft. It's like the perfect little measurement. And I'll go around in a couple of other sections just to make sure that we don't have any light peeking through on the edges. Everything stays in place. And how beautiful is that? I love that the coloring in this frame now really highlights the feathers and that owl. It really brings out the richness in the flowers. I think it's beautiful, and I hope that you agree. I think this is a very romantic piece. This would be beautiful in a bedroom, perhaps over the bed. It would be, I think, really, really pretty. So here it is, a little bit of a better look at it. Y'all, I know that not everybody uses TEMU, and that's fine. This is not a sponsored video. I just find unique pieces there. But right now, Hobby Lobby is having like 75% off some of their decor. Go see if there's a print there that you like. Take it out of the frame and make something your own. Here it is with dimmer lighting. To me, that is very regal and rich. Very regal and rich. It almost looks like it would be metal, doesn't it? I love this paper. I'm going to grab this black and white paper. This is a little box I recently thrifted. It already had this little foam in it, so maybe this was a jewelry box of some sort. It's just a little wood box, very plain. It's got, I guess somebody replaced the clasp in the front, and we're going to do better. We're going to do better, y'all. Grab up some more of that dark gray and some more of that same silver, my little sponge. And then here's the hardware. I ordered mine from TEMU. Get yours wherever you like. Wherever you like. You could even take it off of another piece. It comes with these little screws. All right, I'm going to start by removing the flimsy pieces here. I'm not worried about keeping these in place, keep them in order, because I know that I'm going to use more decorative pieces on mine. I'm just going to put these in the trash. If you recycle, throw it in with your metals and go ahead and recycle it. We're going to fix it. It's going to be so much better. I know you will agree. Now, it has already been cleaned. I am just going to sand it off. I'm going to sand off, not that it's rough, it's pretty well done, but I want to get off any little bumps, any little snags, because I want this to look like a metal box in the end. I'm also going to round out the corners with my sanding block. They are foam, which makes it great for this because you can press down and it gives you the room to do that. Just going to round them out slightly. And then I'll go around just the whole box and do this. If it needs to be done on the inside of the lid and bottom, you could do it there as well. Be sure anytime that you sand that you then wipe it off. I'm just wiping it with a dry paper towel. Didn't have a lot of, oh, I'm thinking fallout, and that is not the word. Sawdust. There we go. Sawdust. But I'm going to wipe it out really well anyway. Okay, now I'm just going to set this on a piece of plastic that I'm recycling. Protect my tabletop, which you know I'm still going to have paint everywhere. Let's just be realistic and honest about it. It's going to be all over my hands and probably some on my nose and my hairline and everything else. You know how we do it over here. Okay, so I'm going to continue along and I'm going to paint this whole thing. I'm going to be careful not to paint on top of my metal hinges. I'm going to paint up to it, and the flat edge of this brush makes it great to make a nice line. You can see how easy that is. It's all in the tools you use, y'all. Pick the right brushes for the projects that you're doing. I'm going to open it up once it's dry, and then I will go around the inside walls with the black as well. I don't need to paint the bottom flat surface of it because we're doing something different. All right, so my chippy brush, I've gotten almost all the black out of it. I'm just going to add a little bit of silver, and then I'm pushing this down over all of those screws because we want the screws to have the same finish as the rest of the hinge, clasp, whatever you want to call it, lock, mechanism, whatever. Go over that. I am just, it's a little more than a dry brush. I'm pressing down a little more than that, but I don't want to get it into the recessed areas. There's a lot of detail in these two, really, really pretty pieces, and I don't want to destroy the dimension that's already there. Now, for this sponge piece, I am going to use a piece of recycled cardboard that's got some spray paint on it. I didn't intentionally do that. I just cut it out so that it will go on the back of here. I want to add some of my Quick and Thick, and I am going to spread it on here like I'm putting butter on bread. Okay, and I'm going to chase it across the table, just like that. And then I'll put that in place. I'm leaving a little space around the edge of it just because when I cut it out, it turned out that way. You can put some weight on it, flip it upside down, give it a little time to dry. Then I'm going to take a piece of felt. No, not felt. No, that is not what that is. This is a little bit of fabric that I had left for some pants from another project that I did. And I'm going to use that beautiful velour, and I'm going to fold it around this sponge because this is going to be the bottom, and this is going to be the place where we put the jewels. You know, if you have rings and things like that, you would want to be able to cut some little slits in here to slip the bottom of the rings or the earrings or, you know, whatever, down into it. So we want to fake that that's what we're doing here. But if you want to use this for your actual jewelry, you can certainly do that. I'm just going to show you what it would look like as a prop. And we'll fold our ends in and glue those down as well. And I know it looks kind of funky there on the end. It looks kind of puckered, but when you push it into the box, that won't matter. We can't get too precise about everything, can we? We certainly can on this channel because I don't do the math. I don't do the numbers. So there we go. And now you can't see it at all. It just blends in with the sides. Perfect. Perfect for my intents and purposes. Now I'm going to grab some Mod Podge. I'm just going to be using it on the bottom, so it doesn't matter what finish that you use. I'm using matte. Variety of what I use is matte. Majority, rather, is what I... Okay, yes. A majority, my preference, there we go, is matte Mod Podge. Y'all, what is happening to me? Anyway, so I'm going to put that down all over the bottom. I'm going to try to make it kind of even. I don't want any gaps or I don't want any bumps or anything in there that's going to cause wrinkles. And I'll just press it down. That's not a heavy coat. That's a light coat. You could also use glue stick, but I didn't think I could get into the corners good enough with a rounded glue stick. So this is why I did the Mod Podge. Then I'll use my little squeegee tool. You could even use a credit card, a store card, a shopping cart, a driver's license, whatever you have to do that. Just press it down, make a nice, beautiful decorated top. Y'all, I have done lots of black and white type decor. I sure have, and I really, really, really enjoy it. You can get paper, by the way, similar to that print at Dollar Tree. It's in the contact paper over in the kitchen area. That's where it is in my stores, or where the glasses and cups are. So you can get some contact paper if you want to do that, if you like that print. Okay, so we're going to give that time to dry, and we're going to put the new latch on here. Y'all, I absolutely love this. So I'm going to put it together, set it down right over where the original holes were, because they were actually in the right spot. And I'm going to use the tip of my little screwdriver to just make some holes in here to give me guides for where I want to put my screws, and it also helps hold the screw in place. You can see the new spots there? It's going to help hold that screw in place while I screw it down, because they are tiny. So just to cheat a little bit, I'm going to add a little hot glue to help me hold this in place so it's not wiggling around while I'm trying to put the screw in. How do you like that little tip? Yep, you don't need a lot. It's definitely not going to hold it without the screws. It will pop off because it's metal, but it will help you hold it in place while you get your hardware down. Just like that. And you know what I like about this particular little clasp is that you can actually turn that bottom side the other way and it gives it a completely different look. It still snaps. It's gorgeous. It's pretty. It's just my opinion. You could always take something off of a thrifted piece that you have and use that hinge. How about that? Really stretch your dollar. Now I'm going to screw this in, and yes, it looks terribly aggressive. I don't want that screw to run away from me, so I'm making sure that I hold it. You see how tiny it is? Even in my little bitty hands, my little bitty painted hands, because you see, I never disappoint when it comes to that. Now we're going to go in and do the bottom section too. And I love it. I love it. Now, doesn't that look so much better? So much more high-end? Yes, absolutely. By the way, that's only one coat of that dark gray paint on the box. Only one. Now I'm going to go with my little sponge and my brush. No, with my sponge and my paint. And I'm going to get this all over here. Y'all, it's one of those days again where I'm struggling with my words. I did not feel good yesterday. I had a lazy day. I had a headache. I could barely make myself work. And I feel like today I'm still a little bit trying to get myself back in order. So please forgive me in this video. Do not let this one video deter you from subscribing on my channel. I promise. It gets better. It really does get better. We all have those days though, you know? Speaking of, thank you to everybody who's been so kind and commented and responded about my situation and my kids and everything. I'm not going to go on and on about it because I choose to focus on everything that's positive, but I just want you to know I read all my comments, every one of them. And if I don't comment on what you put in the comments, I am still going to be giving you a heart and a thumbs up. And some people are actually going to get blocked because they're very nasty, but most people are fantastic, and I love it. Okay, so once the silver has dried, I'm going to go back over with some black and my chippy brush. This is just to darken back over the areas that I need to darken. If you have any spots that are a lot more silver or any blobs, this is going to help soften that look and make it look much better. You can look at this as a galvanized piece. You can look at this as a tarnished silver piece. Totally up to you. I'm going over the hinges with the black, so I want it to look tarnished and old. And this is how it's going to look. You see how I got heavier all around those edges? All right, so you can also do the inside edges of the box if you want to. I didn't do it because I forgot, frankly. Now I'm going to show you some ideas of staging this. I've got some little buttons. I've got some little crystals and things that have been thrifted because I like to pick those up. I like to pick them off of other things. This one's broke at the top, but we're going to use it. And keep in mind that if you're using hot glue to place these down, like I'm trying to make them look like rings that are pushed into here, be very light on the amount of glue you use, because the silverish color that's on the back of the little backing for the rhinestones can chip off, and then you'll see your hot glue, and you don't want it to look sloppy, right? Now this is like a hollowed out button, but I thought it looked like a snake, so I decided to use it, thought it was appropriate. And these are they're little black spiders with red in the middle that are for jewelry pieces, so you could make earrings or whatever with them. But we're going to pretend like they're actual earrings, and we're going to press them down into there. Okay? Now, y'all, bought some new wax. I got this from Amazon. This is not a sponsored thing. I just wanted to try it because that black paper in the top needs to look kind of old, doesn't it? So I'm going to pounce it in, take it off. It's like a gel type texture. It's not runny like what you get in the bottles, like the antiquing wax I normally use. So I see so many possibilities with this. I really, really like it. And the container is enormous. I'm going to try to link this for you if you're interested in something that's more of this consistency, because it is a big, big container. Look at it though. Man, with a fluffy brush. Woo! And then I'm getting all over the sides here, and it's not going to wet the paper. I love it. Look. That's exactly the look that I wanted. Now I have just a Raven sticker. And y'all, I'm sorry I can't tell you where I got it from. I've had these since the scrapbook days. I have had several of these little bubble looking ones, and I save them and I reuse them over and over. But I haven't used the Raven yet. So we're going to put it in this box because I think it's perfect. Why not? This beautiful, elegant Gothic lady probably has a great love for all things Raven. You know she loves spiders. This is how this little beauty's gonna look. I'm obsessed. I love this. This would be so cute as a treasure box. If you don't do jewelry, you could put markers in it. You could put secret letters in here, love letters, love notes. You could use it as a recipe box in your house if you wanted to. You could put bath bombs in here. You could put your treasured caramels and Reese's peanut butter cups in here. So many options. So many. If you like black licorice, red licorice, put that in there. And I hope that you are in love with this piece as much as I am. So this is a piece of cardboard we're going to use for backing. Here is a black frame that I thrifted. This is some double stick mounting tape that I use all the time. This is from Dollar Tree. It is a metal ribbon or edging. And you can use whichever type that you like. And then these little wood pieces, and these are corner pieces that came from TEMU. They're wood. Going to be very pretty. We're going to make our own beautiful frame. And look at this print. Yes. It's all inspired by this print. And this came from TEMU. And anything I tell you that came from TEMU, you're going to get the information in the description box because I'm an affiliate now. Okay, so we're going to put a lot of Mod Podge on here, just to get a nice even coat. It's going to look like a lot, actually, when you look at my brush. It's not. We're going to feather it out. We're going to make it one thin layer all over the mat. If you don't want to do it this way, you don't want to put your print down, my experience is this just keeps the wrinkles out, but you don't have to do it this way. The print's a little bit bigger than this backing, so all you would have to do is flip it over and hot glue it. And I do actually hot glue my edges down on the back later, just to get them out of the way. But you can definitely cut them off. So when you put your canvas down, this is canvas, not poster. Put the canvas down, it's thick. It's gonna take a little bit of work to get it to stay on that board, but don't be discouraged, because that's just a cardboard backing. It's not MDF, it's not wood or anything like that. The glue is gonna grip between the two, and I'll show you what you can do to keep it down and in place. So you can do like this and put the frame on backwards and hold the edges down. You can put weights on top of it. I flipped mine over and put weights on it and put it aside. Now we're going to take this regular flat blah looking frame and we're going to make this look beautiful and expensive and gothic and just castle romantic and hauntingly wicked. I'm going to use this double stick gel tape. I use this mounting tape all the time. And I'm going to put it on the corners here. I'm putting it going a little bit on each piece. So like the corner will have a piece going one direction and one going the other direction. I'm using miter shears. You use whatever you want to use to cut your wire or this metal piece here. It's very thin and you can weaken it by just twisting it like this. You don't have to have an exact cut and it doesn't have to be exactly even on the edges because it's going to be covered up with the wood embellishments shortly. So you can use, like I said, whatever tool you want to use to cut this. I imagine if you just kept twisting it back and forth enough, the metal fatigue would, kind of break it loose. So here we are. And you can see this is not completely all the way to the edge on both sides. It's not. Not a problem. Now I'm going to take a little bit of glue and put that in between. This is my E6000. The reason I'm doing this is because if I use that sticky tape all the way down, when we do the paint technique, it's going to take away from the depth that we have in there. Does that make sense to you? You know what I'm talking about? I don't want it to have that flat appearance. Now you won't see it in the corners, so that won't matter. So the glue is going to help kind of disguise and maintain, I guess, those openings and all that decorative stuff. Okay, so now this is how I'm going to hold that metal piece in place. Got it flat and I've got clamps on it until that glue dries. Then I'm going to go and do the next one. I just flipped it around and I'm doing the next side, same thing. Hey, I just wanted to say thank you. Whatever brought you here today to my channel, if somebody shared the video, if I popped up in recommendations, or, if you're here all the time and you've got your notification bell on, I appreciate you being here today. It means a lot and it helps my channel grow. All right, so we're doing the same thing here that we did before and on the other side. Now this definitely has a print that goes in one or the other direction. It's not mirrored, in other words. So if you want to make sure it goes the same way all around, just be conscious of that when you're placing these on your frame. So now here it is, all dried. The glue has dried. And you can see some of it has a little bit of rust on it. That's not a problem. Don't worry about that. It does overhang and make this look a little bit more substantial, which I love. Okay. So these pieces are going to be on the corner. You're going to use a little bit of that mounting tape or some E6000 and hot glue. The oil rub bronze in the 2X Rust-Oleum is what I'm going to be using today to spray this down. We got everything together, sprayed it, it's dry, and we're going to bring it back in. If you're enjoying and learning anything from this channel today, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. I am working on a goal today of 100,000 subscribers. So now you can put lights on the inside. We have that little overhang if you would like to have a lighted up project. But don't worry, if you don't want to do it on this picture, the next one we're doing will have lights. Now you can see here, I just used the hot glue on the back. Everything is dry, I left it overnight. I'm going to take some of this espresso. I use this a lot in my decor. And I'm going to use this to kind of dry brush over this entire piece. What it will do is, right now everything is the same color, which is what you want initially. And then putting this on here is going to highlight all of those places that are higher up. And there will be more depth from the black in the places that are not hit by the espresso paint or the bristles of the brush. So a lot of this depends on the amount that you load into your brush It's going to depend on the pressure that you use when you are putting this down, how hard you push down, and the depth of whatever pieces you're using. So something with a lot more detail like this really is a great way to practice doing this. So I'm just starting on my corner pieces. I like to start off light. I know I say it in every video, but for those of you who haven't heard it, I like to start off light when I'm doing this. And then if I want to build it up, I'll just build it up. Now I've sped it up a little bit, but I do want you to see the process because I don't want anybody to be afraid to paint or try different things. Heck, I've got some resin now. My friend Indiana Jones, Indy Annie, I do it all the time. She uses resin, like a quick cast resin, and I bought some and I'm practicing with that and I absolutely love it. So, you know, I'll be showing y'all that too. That's me learning something new, and I really want to encourage y'all to do that. Don't be afraid. Go ahead and you know, see, there may be some things that you try and you don't like, but that's okay. You know, move on to the next thing. You could at least say you gave it a shot. You never know what you might be really gifted at, but you won't know if you don't try. All right, so now I'm just kind of brushing that over on the back of the frame. I'm going to use my little dryer here, my little heat tool. I'm going to go all the way around it to make sure everything is dry. Now this frame has a little bar on the bottom that you can kind of tuck your canvas into. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to tuck it in, press it down. Then you can use hot glue and go around the edges if you want to, just like this. I'm not going to use anything because mine fits perfectly in here. And you know, I'm always changing stuff out. This way I can use this frame for another project later if I decide. Isn't this a beautiful print? I love this. I love it. It is so dark and moody, and it's gorgeous. Whether you like it for Halloween or this is the decor that you like in your home all year long, this one is going to make an impact. Here it is, kind of with a little bit of decor around it to give you an idea of, you know, how you could use it in your own home if you would like. And you can really go with silvers, you can go with copper, whatever you want that's a metallic type paint to do your frames like this. Just whatever you choose. Copper would have been pretty since that little pot is copper that the floral range. Some pumpkin chalk paint, paint brushes, also black chalk paint, whatever type of ribbon you want to use. Got some velvet and then some Dollar Tree ribbon. Very simple. This is a postcard. I'll have it linked for you. It comes in a pack. I found this at the thrift store. It actually was some type of a breast pump. It's just a round container. And then this is some crinkly paper that I got. Very nice texture. You could always, you know, crinkle up some paper yourself if you wanted to, but this is already done. So we're going to use this to cover from here to here. So you can measure it to get an idea of how much you're going to need. Y'all know how to cut stuff out, right? Get your measurements, cut it out. You don't want to do that white part because that's where the lid will fit back on. I'm just going to cut my piece out now, and I'm going to give myself a little wiggle room just in case. And then I'll just cut off what I don't use. Checking again to make sure it's correct. I don't want to waste this paper because I think I can get quite a few projects out of this piece. I'll set it down and kind of roll it and see how much I'll need. You can also measure if you have a tape measure, you can do that. And then I'll trim it off, like I said, with the little excess. I'm looking for my back seam. I want to keep my seams all kind of together. Not that you're actually going to see the seam, you know, on the container itself, but it's just how I like to do it. All right, so it's going to be perfect. I do have some overlap here. I'm going to put some glue down. This is just like a paper, craft paper, I guess, that's already on this little tube container. You can also just get like a box from Dollar Tree, and I know they have some gift boxes that are cylindrical like this as well. I'm going to glue it on, And then I have this extra that I can cut off because I didn't make any boo-boos. I didn't need it. Can save it for something else. Trimmy trim. And then this is what it's going to look like so far. I'm going to paint the bottom black. I am almost out of my rich black. Got to order some more. And I'll go all over the middle and then over the little lip, which makes the edges of the box, and in between where the paper is, so that there is none of that craft paper finish showing. And be sure that you let all of this dry, because we're going to be painting quite a bit in this video. Simple stuff though, nothing hard. Dry it. Then I've decided, okay, we're going to go ahead and do this too, so it will look good as well if the lid is off. Go down on the inside of that lip. I'm not going to paint the inside. I'm going to leave it silver. Dry that. We're going to work on the lid. So I'll take that pumpkin orange chalk paint and go over my fingers too, because you know how we do over here on this channel. And I'm going to dry it all. Once it's dried, I'm going to go on the inside of the lid with black. And I'll go up the sides. Also, we're going to put a surprise in here. So if anybody sneaks in your apothecary, aka candy jar, your hidden candy jar, they'll get a big surprise. So stay tuned so you can see that. Now, I just decided to cut mine out just to give it some dimension, a little more interest. I'm just going to be cutting this out. It's got some little decorative corners and pieces, and I wanted to leave those in and really let them show. So I'm just going to go and fussy cut around here. This isn't too hard to cut out though. It's pretty simple shapes. But like I said, leave yours completely like it is if you would like. If you're enjoying this video and you've seen other videos of mine that you like, please consider subscribing to the channel. Though only subscribe if you're enjoying the kind of things we do on this channel. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little bit of my antiquing wax, but you can also use black, with my little finger dauber and go all the way around here so there's no white edges and it gives a little more shadow and depth. Just like so. We're going to let that dry, and then because I don't particularly care for the glossy finish, I'm going to just dull it down a little bit by taking some of this matte Mod Podge and going over the top. Now, this is just my preference. I'm just using a very thin amount. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. Hey, if you're here today for the first time, I want to say welcome to the channel. I want to say thank you for everybody who has supported me, and for whatever reason that you're here today, I'm glad to have you here. Now I'm going to take this dryer and I'm going to dry my Mod Podge. Again, if you have time and you're only doing one project, you can just let this dry while you go take a water break, right? Now I like that better. It's more of a satin finish. I like it. Now this came from Dollar Tree. I don't have to do anything to it, and that's always perfect. It's just a little candle stand. I peeled off my tag, and I'm going to use it to hold, yay, to hold up my little apothecary jar. I want it to be footed. Oh, it's so exciting when things work like that. So I'm going to add hot glue, and the bottom of this is rough textured. It's raw. It doesn't have any paint on it. So it's a good grippy surface, and the paper that is the bottom of this tube is also a nice grippy surface. So this should work fine for my intents and purposes. I'm going to reach in there and just press down to make sure it adheres nicely. And I like it. So now we're going to check our placement. The postcard or whatever print you use needs to be far enough down on here, but it's not interfering with the lip, okay? Mine is a little bit larger, so in order to kind of extend down the size and shape of this, I'm going to use some lace trim. This is just some trim that I thrifted years ago, and I still have plenty left. I'm going to take that with a little hot glue, starting in the back. You can see where that seam is, so that every bit of the seams are toward the back. And I'm going to add this down. Okay, so what if you don't have the postcards that I have? Well, you can always find a card that you really like, maybe even at Dollar Tree. They do have some cards that I think are 2 for $1 or they're 50 cents. You could get a card like that. You can use banner pieces. Y'all have seen me use banners in different products, in different projects. as well. So you can use stuff like that. You could even use something you cut out of an old book or a magazine, whatever you want to use here. Just some type of a print with a vintage feel. Now once I'm back, I'm going to overlap and cut it off. And then I'm going to decide where I want to put my little piece. When I know where I want to have it and it's centered where I like it, I'll just kind of put my hand there to remind me when I lift it off where it needs to be glued down. I do recommend hot glue for this because you need something that's going to firmly hold that curve. And I've held that for quite a while, but I edited out all the time. It took me to hold it. But you see, it still wants to kind of lift where there's no glue. So you're going to have to hold that in place for a few minutes, or you can use rubber bands around it to hold it in place while that glue is setting up or drying. And I'm just showing you that you could use rubber bands. You could use a couple of them, you know, if you wanted to. Nothing too tight, it's not necessary, it's just holding it in place. We're not trying to bind it and make wrinkles in it, right? So here's the top, and here's our surprise. If somebody sneaks in our jar and tries to get our treats, they're gonna see a spider in there. I just thought this was a cute idea. Y'all certainly don't have to do this. These are clips that I got from Dollar Tree. I think there's like 2 or 3 on a, I don't know, I've had it for a while. But I'm gonna take the clip out, I'm gonna cut the bottom part off so it'll lay fairly flat. Trim the legs down so that there's enough room for the top to fit on without the legs being in the way. And then I'll center that right in the lid and press it down until the glue sits. Easy enough to do. I can see room between his legs and the edge, which is going to make it perfect. Look at that. See how that orange pops when you take that lid off? Yes. Okay, so grab some of those ornaments that I know y'all have, because we all get them and sometimes don't know what to do with them. We are going to make a little mini topiary for the top. I'm going to use the tip of my glue gun, which is very hot, and hold it down right in the top center of that largest ornament. This is going to make a hole in there. If the hole is not big enough for the stick that you're going to use to go down in the center to stabilize everything, while it is still hot, you can take some type of a tool like I have. This is just like a utility knife, and just kind of cut off the soft pieces until you get it where these will sit on top of each other. Then I'm going to take the ball that's in the middle and do the same thing. I'm kind of finding the top by sitting it on the part where the hook would go. So this is going to be the stick I'm going to use. It's going to be perfect. I'll put this through. That's why you need 2 holes in this one. And then decide, you know, we have to cut it because that's too much. I'm also going to cut the neck off of this carefully because I don't want there to be a gap. I want it to sit right on top of that black one, like so. I'm going to put quite a bit of glue on the inside of this one so that when I put it on the, I don't want to make a huge mess. When I put it on that stick, that glue will drip down onto the stick and hold those pieces together. You can use whatever colors you like. I'm using the classic orange and black just because I'm doing these the vintage feel anyway. Here is some more of that lace trim, and we are going to make this into a little ruffled centerpiece. And this is going to help us glue down, or have some more surface to glue down, that little topiary that we just made. I'm using some cording and one of these big, now these particular plastic needles come with the TEMU banners that you get, well, that I got. And so I save them all because, you know, you never know what you could use them for, and they are perfect for this. They fit in that little, I don't know, I guess the seam piece, so they work great. I'm going to make a couple of knots in the end of this cord. And this is some type of a fabric cord, it's not paper. So you can see here what I'm doing. I'm just sliding this down, sliding, and it is going to start gathering itself. It's going to gather. Some of you, this will not be news to. You will know if you've ever sewn. This is really easy to do. We're just making a ruffle, essentially. But this is going to be a tight enough ruffle that I can curl it up upon itself to make a beautiful little bottom. And it's going to be a decorative top for the jar lid. So cute. Now you can get it as tight as you want to. I want to make sure that it's going to fit on the top. I'm putting my needle back in so that I can sew the end of that. I'm going to that end. I'm going behind where the string is or where the cording is. I'm going to make a loop and then put the needle through the loop. And that's how you tie a knot. You can do that a few times to ensure that nothing is coming loose. It is like a lacy type material, so just be careful that you don't pull it too tight and tear that. So just a couple of knots will hold it, and then I'm going to cut that extra off and start shaping that pretty little piece. Perfect. And the more of that trim that you use, the fluffier that is going to be, the bigger it's going to be. I got some fuzz caught in my glue there. I'm going to put a good bit of glue, try to get this centered on the top, and then press it down into that glue. All right, so now I've just glued it in the center, nothing but glue holding it down. I'm going to grab a little bit of these thin pieces of ribbon and make this my own. That's what we do on this channel, right? I'm going to give you the inspiration and you're going to make it your own. Just take the idea and run with it. So with about 14 inches, I would think, maybe, of this ribbon, I am going to be adorning this pretty piece. You could use baker's twine. You don't have to do anything. If you want it just like that, you don't have to do anything at all. But I'm going to make a little bow, just 2 little bunny ears, wrap them around, tuck it in the hole, and pull the other side. When you do it this way, you can still adjust how big you want the bow to be or how small by just pulling on the tails. So it can be a big bow, it could be a big floppy bow, or it could just be something small. And I like the idea of being, you know, almost a step down, so between the size of the top and the middle one. Then I started thinking, so do we cut the tails? No, let's use those tails for a little more decoration on the second piece. And what you can do is take a piece of the ribbon, either the orange or the black, tie it around the middle and the bottom ornament, and I'll just tie it in a knot or a double knot. Once I know that's where I want it, it's a double knot, of course, right? And then you can move around those pieces of ribbon to get them into the shape that you like, so it almost looks like painted stripes on there. And then you can just finish off your edges by snipping them at a little slant. And you can leave these long, you can cut them short, they can hang down the full length of your jar if you wanted to. But this is how mine looks. I like that. I think that's pretty. And is going to fit perfectly there. So now let's address the sides of the orange, right? It needs a little something. That lid is just too plain. It needs to be decorated. So we want to mimic what's going on this owl's hat. I'm going to make this look a little bit like a hat band. I'll take some velvet ribbon, just my choice, and then make sure that it's going to fit, and of course it does. We can still see the orange. If you didn't want to use the ribbon, you could always paint a black stripe if you wanted to, or whatever color you like. You could leave yours plain. I'm gonna go around. Just keep in mind, y'all, I always tell you this, and it is true. If it is something that you're making for yourself, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter anybody else's opinion. It's your art. It came from you. It brings you joy in your home. It's exactly what it needs to be. So don't be afraid to start crafting. Just start. Just start. It is really that simple. Don't overcomplicate it. All right, so now I'm going to glue this down. I've just cut it at a slant to make it, you know, that's because that's just what I wanted to do, but you can cut it straight across, of course. Now we got to have something in the middle. So this is the belly of a spider ring that I got from Dollar Tree. I love to use these little jewels. It's got black plastic around it, and it's that beautiful orange in the middle. Then I've got some tiny, kind of bronzy looking stars that are actually jewelry pieces. I got them at the thrift store. I got black, this gold, there's some iridescent white, some solid white. Just I have a variety of them. You can see them in that box beside me. All of the stuff in there has been thrifted. I'll put one on the top, just wherever I want to put these. I like the idea that they already looked kind of old and tarnished. Y'all look at my fingers. I was trying to get the stuff done, right? I was trying to get it done. I'm not going to take the time to get up and wash my hands when I'm in the flow of the energy, and it was going. So I put one in the middle of the bow. I'm going to put another one in the middle here, and I'm just using my jewelry pliers to help me because my fingers are too big to go in that space. So just use some pliers for that. Needle nose pliers will work if y'all have those. You can get cheap tools at Dollar Tree also if you just want to get a cheap tool set to keep with your stash. Now there were already stars on here, so I'm just going to go over those with these stars. Nice. And we're going to go on the edge of this picture where we have the little embellished corners. I know it's probably not very easy to see unless you're watching on the television. But this is how this little beauty is going to look. So what kind of candy are you going to be hiding in your apothecary jar this year? I think I'll have some Reese's peanut butter cups in mine and maybe some bit of honey. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. This is how this one is going to look. I think it's very vintage inspired. Now, if you don't like the glossy look of the stand, feel free to go ahead and paint that a matte black or satin or whatever finish you like. You can glitter that if you want to. There's so many ways to take the inspiration and make it your own. And that's what I want you to do. If you want to do it just like mine, feel free to. But you got a lot of creativity that you can tap into right there in your own little body. I've got some ink black chalk paint, some metallic copper spray paint. Love this brand. This is part of a banner from TEMU. This is a thrifted frame. Needed a little repair, so I fixed it right here. Got it all fixed up. Nobody wanted it but me. I love it. And then this is some more of that thick felt. These are the approximate measurements to give you an idea. You could also take apart a mirror. If you have something like this with a mirror, you can take that mirror out. We're going to use it as a frame. So once it's been wiped down and of course repaired if you need it, you'll shake the heck out of that can, take it outside and spray it. You can do 1 or 2 coats. I just did 1 coat and let it dry in the sun. And this is how it looks so far. So this is going to be on the inside because we're going to use this as a picture frame. And I'm just making sure that it's going to have a good placement in there. I'll prop it up and then grab my white marker and just go around. You can't see a pencil on this, you just can't. So using like a white marker or a chalk marker will help with this. Just a light line on there so I could get my placement right. And then I'll grab up some scissors and trim it down. This is very easy to do. You can use any type, you can get a picture out of a magazine, you can get a picture off a calendar, any type of like a paper that has a picture in it that you like. Alright, so I'm going to lay this down on this felt. Like I said, this is very thick felt. And it's going to be a good backing for this. I've been using it a lot when I do portraits and framed art. So then I'm going to cut this one out. Takes a little time. Like I said, it's stiff, so it's, you know, kind of rough to cut through, but we're going to do what we can. I'm going to grab my matte Mod Podge. It really doesn't matter what kind of Mod Podge you use under here, but I'm trying to be consistent in the 3 things that we're doing today so that you know you don't have to buy something new for every project that you do, right? You can still have a moody look and you don't have to spend a fortune. And plus, when you do it this way, then you have pieces that work well together. Alright, so I'm not going to soak that. I'm just going to be sure that it's enough that it, you know, will grab onto the paper. You can then take your scissors and trim that up if you need to, you know, where the white and black are even. I'm going to take my squeegee and just pull that across there. It's going to press it down nice and flat. It is a thick cardstock, so wrinkling is not going to be an issue, but if you're going to use something that's thinner, you're going to be sure that you're careful. Now, I'm not using the Mod Podge to seal this. I'm using it to mattify the picture. Because it's a glossy finish, I want it to be a little more matte. Just my preference. You don't have to do it this way. Just my preference. So I'm going to put one thin layer on there, and then I'll give it a quick dry. You can sit it in front of a fan, or you can walk away and work on something else. Totally up to you. So I'm going to grab a sponge, and I'll show you how I do this later on in the video, how I get this sponge like this. I'm just going to kind of pat it down into the black and then press a little bit off, and then I'm going to make it like a cameo. I'm going to go all the way around so that the main focus of the picture is on this beautiful little witch that's in the picture. Now, I used a witch because I have some Halloween things, and I'm still working on Halloween on this channel. But if you don't want to use her, you could do any type of Victorian picture if you would like. Even an old black and white would be very pretty too. Just got to kind of use your imagination, right? Now I've got my chippy brush, I've gone into the black, and then just bobbing it up and down, it pushes it up into the bristles, and I'll start just dragging this across here to make this look aged. Now I do realize with copper there is a patina that you can get that's that bluish, really pretty bluish greenish color that you can put on it. So if you wanted to add that onto your piece, you could add that. But for me, I'm keeping it dark and moody and not adding that at all. But you could. So this is like if you had a brand new, beautiful, pretty penny, and then it has been aged and touched and sat out in, you know, the elements. Maybe there's a, if you imagine a haunted house with a broken window and the wind is blown in and the rain has been on it, the weather has been on it, or it's just been in the house and it's just old. You know, it's just old. Put as much on there as you would like. I want some of that copper still showing. Then I have some copper here. I'm going to go into that, pat a little bit off, and go over around this black. Now most of this area on the outside will be on the outside underneath the frame. Hey, if you are learning something in this video or having fun so far, please consider giving me a thumbs up. Alright, so I'm just going to keep on patting it down, and if you don't dip into the black or the gold, the copper, excuse me, anymore, then it will just start to kind of fade it a little bit, make it look a little more aged, which is what I like. And so I'm going to leave mine just like this. Now there's some detail on here with some flowers and some vines and some filigree, so I'm just going to take a really thin brush here, and this is actually like a bridge brush that you would use for stenciling, I do believe, but it may just be a detail brush. I have some of those too. And I'm going to go over the flowers. I want to leave the darker spots in there because if you color the whole thing, you won't see any of the detail and it'll just look like a copper blob, right? So even when I go along the lines, I'm not going to completely cover the lines. I'll go to the outside so you can still see that dimension there. You don't have to do this, but for me, I like what it added. And I just love to paint. Y'all know that now, right? I mean, if you've been watching my videos for any amount of time, you know I love to paint. So I'm just going to do this till my little heart is happy. And this is what it looks like, and then I'm going to let her dry. A little bit of heat here because I need to move quickly to get this stuff out to y'all. And by the way, thanks again for everybody who has been encouraging. Y'all have kept me moving through this whole process. The whole process. It's kept me motivated. It's kept me doing the work. And I may have to put out a mega video every now and then just to stay on schedule. But I think I can do this with the second channel. And the second channel will be posting on Saturdays at 6 p.m. So, you know, if you're interested in decorating and seeing how I use the pieces I make, you can run over there and subscribe to that channel, and I'd appreciate it. But yeah, I'm keeping up. And I thank y'all for that, because even if it's things in a mega video that you've seen before and you just watch it, you know, you just listen to it while you're cleaning or doing something else, that helps my channel tremendously. Tremendously. Okay, so there she is. We've got the back on, we've got her in there, and I love the way this looks. You could also put lights on the inside if you wanted to, but I'm going to leave it classy and moody and rich, just like it is. I hope you like this one. There's so many ways you can do it to make it your own. I love the difference it makes when we put them in front of the studio lights. Man, they just really, they really pop, don't they? She's so cute. She's a cute girl. She's got her raven. This is what it looks like when you get it from Dollar Tree. This is a Dollar Tree Plus item, and I paid $3 for it. I had an idea for it, but it turned out so much better than I expected. Y'all have got to keep watching this. So you can see it is coated in glitter. These are two little earrings that I took apart that were on another project I did, and I've just removed them so I can reuse them. You can see it still has black felt right here. We're going to leave that. It's going to help us with glue. You're going to need a brush, a bucket, some hot water. Yeah, you're going to need more than that. So I'm going to soak this down in some hot water. I soaked it. I took a brush. I took off as much as I could. Then I had to get some Goo Gone, and after I dried it, put the Goo Gone on it and then scraped it off. It took a lot of elbow grease, but look at what is under all that glitter. Now you can clearly see here that some glitter is still there, but I made a point to go in each of those little sections below the feathers and all of that with a little pointy, it's like a wood carving tool, so the thickness of the glitter would be gone and you wouldn't see that texture. Okay, so that's how that looks so far. Not worried about that skull, we're going to fix that. I'm going to take this slate colored Rust-Oleum 2X paint and spray this entire thing and the little hands. Now you're going to need some wood. So whatever type that you find in the yard that would be big enough for you to put this on, this is going to be a base. Originally I had bought a black wire base from Dollar Tree, but when I saw the results when the glitter came off, I thought, no, something more special has to be done. So you can use a piece like this, but you have to make sure that it's balanced. So you just want to take it and just sand it down, like if there's a high spot in the back, sand it down so it's flat and it will be balanced. Then you can seal your edges with a little bit of spray, just a sealer. Okay, so here are the little hands, and here is the crow and the skull, or the raven. Looks pretty good. It's pretty flat and one-dimensional right now, but it does help the other paints to cling to it, and that's kind of the idea. Now I have some of these paper, they're like a napkin, I guess you could say, but they're pretty thick. I use them with cleaning and that sort of thing, but you can use these also to help keep your projects clean. I don't want any cream colored paint on my raven, so I'm going to take this and wad it up and fold it around as close as I can get it to the raven, and then I'll use some painter's tape or whatever tape you have to tape it off and protect it. So I'm going to put it around the bottom part, and just anywhere that it overlaps and folds, put it there. I'm trying to make sure that it overlaps in areas where the paint might be a little thicker so that the paint won't go through. And you do better with spray paint also when you do like a lighter layer and then go back over it again. It gives you a smoother look without all the drips. Now I'm just going to push it in there. I'm going to take this Navajo paint and I'm going to spray it. It's like a cream color. You can see the look of it, or a very light beige. That is going to be the base color. Now you can see that the raven was protected and he looks nice. And there's how he looks. But you see all this little area around? This is where we couldn't get in. So we're going to use this chalk paint in sheepskin and go right along the edge with the brush. Now I've got it's like a pointed brush, and I like to use it to push the paint into the little recessed areas. So you can see me kind of push it in and then pull it down, push it in and then pull it down. And that's going to help get that first layer of paint on there. I don't want to make it too thick, but I also want it to be covered as much as I can get it covered. It does take 2 coats in these dark areas to get that covered up. And of course, if you wanted to do the process of covering up the skull so that it didn't get any of this on it, you just paint it over the gold, you can absolutely do that. But if you watch my channel for a while, you already know sometimes I don't really know where I'm going with the project until it hits me and then I run with it. Well, that's kind of what happened. I had no idea this thing was going to be this beautiful. I mean, from Dollar Tree. From Dollar Tree, y'all. $3. Well worth the money in my opinion. Okay, so you can see here what I'm doing, and I'm going to make sure that I go, you can see how I'm pushing in between and the talons here, or the little feet. I'm going to go right in between those and just push it in. And that's the advantage of having a little pointed brush like this, because you can get in those spots. You definitely can do it. Use your imagination and go with whatever you like. But this is going to be a very organic looking Halloween, and not even specifically Halloween. This could also be if you just love the spooky life. You know, have this in your house all the time. I love this. So I'm just going to take the sheepskin and this flat brush and go all over this. I'm going to go over his teeth, the back of the head. I'm not going to worry about putting anything on the bottom specifically because we're going to be gluing it down, and there's no sense having the paint in the way, and sometimes paint will peel up. And if it peels up, then you lose your grip and it will fall off. And this is like a poly resin, so that's what it is called anyway. You're going to continue all along with this, and you can see that I'm going back over here. And then you don't have to push the paint down into the grooves between the teeth or in the grooves anywhere, any indentions, because we want those areas to be a little bit darker at any rate. So, you know, you don't have to be that attentive. Y'all can watch my videos on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's free to subscribe, and I'd love to talk to you in the comments. Once that chalk paint is dry, we're going to work on this bird. I'm going to grab some of my black chalkboard paint. This came from Dollar Tree, and a little chippy brush. And we're going to start layering a little bit on this raven. You can skip this step if you don't like it. You could certainly take black spray paint and just go ahead and color it black, and that will be that. But I like to add a little more dimension to my projects, so I'm going to be using this next step. Now I'm going to try to dip into the paint, and I'm going to offload a little bit of that so nothing is too thick, and then I'm going to brush over the entire bird. I'm going to try to go along, almost like you painting wood and you follow the grain. So I'm going to follow like the feather pattern down this bird. I'm going to go straight down over it, and then there will be areas where the slate color will show through, and there will be areas where the black shows through. You're going to take a paper towel, and you can just pat off some of that paint if you want to. You can use a paper towel to hold your project if you are a messy painter like I am. And I'm definitely a messy painter, messy crafter. Y'all see my fingernails always look ridiculous. They're clean, but they usually have paint stains on them. So you get the idea. Now you want to start off light on this just in case. You don't want to get too heavy-handed. But like I said, go ahead and grab a paper towel. Have that ready in case you do get a little blob on there. You can brush it back off. Just take your time with this. You don't want to get this black paint all over the white that you've already painted. And I actually did, but I went back in and fixed it. So that's how it's going to look so far. And now I'm just going to wipe back some of that paint. And I like that. That's the look I was going for. All right, I'm going to get a little bitty pointed brush and go into that black again, and I am going to paint his eyes because right now they're more of a gray color. So I'm just going to kind of balance my pinky on there and color over his little eyes. I don't want to paint any strange colors. I don't want to do any glittery. Like I said, this is going to be organic, so I don't want to put anything that might take away from that. We want this to be natural. Okay, I am also coloring the beak, and all the way up where the beak connects to the head, there's a little dent there. I went over that as well. Make it nice and neat. And then I decided to go up to where the eyelids are too, to just make those eyes a little bit bigger, a little more pronounced. And you can see it now. Now, any of the places where the white has bumped up against the black, I'm going to go back over with my black and color that. So if it's a raised area where the skull and the bird are together, then the raised area belongs to the bird, right? So the feet, the bottom of the wings, those sorts of things are all part of the bird. We want to make those black. And doing this, it's almost like when you're a kid and you're coloring in a coloring book and you go back over with black. Or if you go back over with a really heavy hand on the lines. That's kind of what this does. It cleans it up, gives it more of a crisp look, in my opinion, and I just like to do this. I don't always show it because it's an extra step that a lot of people are not willing to take the time to do. So, like I've said before, some of the projects that I do, they take a little bit of time, but it is worth the time if you have it to make one good project rather than 5 kind of cheapy projects, right? Something that you really love that you could keep for a long time. And that's what this project is. So I'm very carefully going along and making sure that I have that. You can see where the cream or the white color, it's actually like sheepskin. But by the way, you know, you can use whatever color whites that you have. I just prefer the cream color because it's a little more natural looking to me. And I hope that nobody is offended by this and that nobody thinks that this is something that is gross or gory, because to me the human body is beautiful. I think that God did amazing things when He created us. And I'm a trained nurse, so I see the beauty in things like this. Some people don't, and that's okay. If it's not for you, you don't have to watch. Okay, so I remembered I had this piece of wood. Yes, we did a fairy on another piece of wood like this, but I thought, yeah, this is really going to set this off. This is the piece of wood I want. I'm going to use some of this moss. Now, one's a finer one, and the other one is a little bit more grassy looking. I've got some watered down coffee grinds, a little spray bottle, a jar, and a little strainer. And I'm going to show you how to make your own stain in case you don't have a stain of your own that you want to use. Pour it through some type of a sieve, and it will strain out your seeds. Try not to get too much of that chalky part of the coffee down in there because it won't go through the sprayer. I learned that the hard way. This idea of using tea and paint, and coffee rather, was not my idea. This is something that I've seen done before and I'm just copying that. This is not an original idea, so I'm not claiming it. Nobody think I am. But once we get that spray going like we want it, we are going to start spraying this down. Now you can spray it even on the bird and let that drip down onto the skull if you want to. The idea is to have something flowing over it. Now this is chalk paint, so you need to quickly dry it and just don't thoroughly saturate it, right? We don't want to do that because the chalk paint will come off. What I have used here is an alcohol spray. It's a black color, and I've used it to age things before. This is what I want to put on top of our base layer. We're going to use a couple of different shades here and a couple of different paints to give this an aged look. So this is the first one. I am trying to be sure with this baby white, this is what I'm kind of blending with, that I get in all of the deep depressions in the bone here, around the teeth, around the nose, the eyes, where the mandible, you know, meets on the side, where it is underneath the bird. And look at that already. If this is how you wanted to leave it, you can leave it that way. Once it's dried, this is how that is going to look. In case you like that look, I am going to add some wax to it. I'm also going to grab some fake limbs, okay, another baby white, and a little bit of this wax, and we are going to add it onto our skull. So I'm going to put it in there and kind of squish it around in the wipe, and then start applying it down. Now I am lightly doing this. I don't want to do it too heavy because it will pull off the chalk paint that's underneath. You just have to be light-handed with this and take your time. These types of projects do take time, and just be willing to dedicate the time if you want to do it, okay? But you can already see the change this is making. Already. I'm going to get in all the areas just like we did with the other paints. And then where I can't reach, like in the crevices and around the little bird feet, I'm going to go in with the brush and just dip it straight into there, into the antiquing wax, and go all around the feet. And you know, this is a black bird, so you're not going to notice it that much that it's on there. I can't notice it at all, actually. I can't tell. Totally up to you. I'm not going to add too much on the inside of the eyes right now. You could do black if you want, but I've got something different that I'm going to do here. Okay, so you can see I'm just applying it in all over there. I got the little temporal bones and everything. Just get in there and really load it down. The idea is that this is a weathered skull. So this is going to be a weathered process. Okay, now you can see I'm tapping some on, I'm squishing some on, I'm making this look different. I don't want it to be symmetrical. Going around the teeth and the chin and the jawline. Try not to get any of that on the bottom because we're going to be gluing there, like I mentioned before, and you want that bottom to have a good grip on the piece of wood that we're going to be putting it on. So when you get the look that you like, you can stop and let that dry. Yes, love it. Love it, love it, love it. I'm going to add a little more on that side. Then I'm just going to use what's left to tap all over the bird. And like I said, you might not notice it, it'll just take that bluish tone down a little bit, and I like that. So these are chalk painted. I'm now going to put this alcohol spray on here. You can put more or less, or you can use your little coffee spray you made. I'm just going to tap this around a little bit, and you see it's got just a little bit left on there. Then I'm going to take the wax on a chippy brush, tap a little off, and then I'm going to drop it. Yes, I am, because I do that. And then I'm going to go back and forth, just flicking that brush all over the fingers. Not important to do the bottom of the hands. Don't worry about that part. You're not going to see it how I put it down. However, if you're going to have the palm up on your hands, then be sure that you do that side. Once that is all in, and like I said, get it in those cracks really well, I'm going to put them on a dry napkin, and while they're still wet, I'm just going to begin to pat and lightly rub some of that off of the surface. And it makes an enormous difference. An enormous difference. Look at that. Yeah, I like that. I like that very, very much. And these are our little hands. You can see the little fingers. I forgot the tips. Don't worry about that. Now here are the hands. Okay, now the fun part, we get to assemble it. Now I'm trying to find the best area to put this where it is supported and stable, and this is perfect, just like this. Oh, I'm loving this so much. Very proud of it, and I hope you love the end result as much as I do. I absolutely love it, and I'm going to put it on my fireplace today. Yes, today. All right, so any places that the skull is touching the wood is going to get a good amount of glue to hold it down. I'm going to take these fake branches, which, by the way, you can use regular branches out of your yard. These happen to have come from a wreath that I took apart and saved all the greenery pieces because I didn't want the wreath anymore. Got tired of it. Now, there are little insect holes all in this piece of wood. I'm going to bend down the wire just a little bit and put some glue in there and then hold it in place. When you have these branches, sometimes when you buy them, they are flat, but they're not intended to be that way. You know, if you look at a tree in nature, they're not flat. So go ahead and flex those out if they're on wire. If not, just pick a branch up out of the yard and it's going to look great too. I love that these have that little bit of moss on them. It's just beautiful. And I do not know where the wreath originally came from because I got it at the Goodwill bin store or the pay by the pound store. Okay. Now I'm going to add one to the side just because I like the look of it, and I'll glue that in place where it doesn't go anywhere. So I'll be showing you in between all the steps and how it looks, because at any point you want to stop, you can go ahead and stop. For me, I'm going to keep going because I think that's what makes my projects in particular unique. Protect your fingers. No burnt fingers on my watch. No excuses to stop crafting, right? All right, so I'm going to take that moss, and I've chosen the moss that's a little more grassier, and I'm going to put it down in the cracks. I'm going to add it where any of the surfaces are touching one another, as if it is sitting in that moss in that little piece of tree. So I'm just pushing it in there. This is a good way to also hide if you have any areas that are a little bit higher, like one side of the skull sits flat and the other side is kind of raised up. So you can tuck that moss in there, gives it a little more support, and it gives it more of an organic look, in my opinion. Now, to give this tree a little more support, I'm going to tuck this around the front and then bend it slightly forward so that I can glue some behind it, and that's going to hold it in place. All those little cracks, there's one up underneath the edge here. I'm just going to put glue in it and then just shove some moss in. I'll add some here, just wherever I think there might be some moss living. I'm just going to add it in there. And this is a mess. This is a total mess. I just want you to know that, but it is well worth it. Okay, and that's me adding a little more just to make sure that everything stays in place. You know, at this point, if you wanted to stop, you absolutely could. But I'm going to keep going. So stay with me because it's worth it. I think it's worth it. All right, I'm tucking some more moss in here. And some of this may look repetitive to you, but it's important to me that I show you every step of it in this particular project, because it's all those little things that you do that bring out the uniqueness. And you want yours to be unique. You don't want this to be like something anybody else has. And I guarantee you, this $3 piece that I got from Dollar Tree looks completely different than it did when I bought it. And it makes this piece not look like everybody else's piece because it's unique. I made it my own, and that's what I want you to do, to make yours your own. So let's put some moss in there, right in the eye sockets. You could put rhinestones here, you could put crystals here, you could put mushrooms here, whatever overall style you're going for, you could put here. I personally like the idea of this being a fall and Halloween type project, you know, again, for those who enjoy a spooky lifestyle. I'm going to add the hands down, making sure the thumb is closest to the head, because you know that's how your hands are when you lay them down. And I'm just going to lay him down wherever I can find a little flat spot. I found this one little branch that I thrifted and haven't used because it's just the one piece. I'm going to cut it into pieces, and we're going to use it in here to bring a little more color into this project and make it look a little more fall. And how beautiful. Nothing like a little burnt orange to go in a Halloween product, to make it really look harvesty and fall-like and just spooky woods. And you know, and like I said before, life comes from death. And when you see something that dies in the woods, you see a tree down in the woods, fern grows, mushroom grows, moss grows. That's what I'm showing here. I hope these things I say do make sense to you. If you're a nature lover, I think that you get it. Okay, I'm going to tuck a piece right behind this little tree that's coming out, or this branch. And I like to do these in threes, or, you know, kind of in odd numbers. So I'm going to add a piece down here where this branch is coming off. I'll tuck a little more moss. And then if you don't have the right shape, cut them, glue them together. So I made a little trio for that side because I didn't have any left. This is how it looks. I want to add just a little bit more, but you know, we always look at our project, top, bottom, left, right, up, down, and that's what I'm doing here. And I decided, let's add a little more texture. So I went over to my box of goodies from the yard, and to my box of leftover goodies and found some pine cones. I'm only going to add 2 here, and I'm going to kind of hide them so they make a little surprise whenever you're looking at it. I'm going to add 1 up here, and I just tucked 1 to hide it. It just adds a little something else. I'm going to add a little moss by it. You could do acorns. Again, the mushrooms, if you wanted to do mushrooms, would be beautiful here too. You could put some of those little plastic bugs in here. If you like this project, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel. I'm always trying to bring you unique, different, just high-end looks on a budget. And of course, when we're on this channel and we're in the comments, we're kind to one another and we support one another. The support that you guys give me is absolutely amazing. I have a hard time believing sometimes that I have made YouTube a full-time job to help support my family, and it just means the world to me, and it couldn't have been done without you. So I really, really appreciate it, and I hope that you can glean some knowledge and some ideas. If you guys have been with me a while, you know we used this owl in a red and black arrangement last year. I'm going to use him again. Now, he was originally spray painted, but I'm going to go over him now with some black chalk paint, and I'm going to mat it down some more. I'm going to give it more depth by making it darker, because I didn't spray it all the way through. This is originally was a white owl, and I do not know where it came from, but just substitute whatever you have that you want to use. You can use an owl, a bat, a crow, a raven, anything that says dark cottagecore to you. If that's what you're going for, then go ahead and use that. And maybe a little more on the goth side. I'm going to make sure that he's thoroughly dried all over, and then I'm going to address his eyes. Put on my spectacles to address my eyes. Y'all remember last year when I did him, I didn't do anything to his eyes. I left him completely black. Well, so many people made suggestions on how to make these eyes just pop and look gorgeous, and I decided that today I would give him some beautiful glowing eyes. So here he is, and I'm putting on that rich espresso right into his eyes with a little brush, and I'm just kind of chasing that shape out with that small brush. See, I'm taking my time. I'm not speeding this up. So you can see, it takes me a while too. And then trying to maintain that shape inside this other eye. And then you can always clean it up if you make a mess. Just take your time. If you have a paint pen and that's easier for you to use on this type of detail work, just use those. And then I just use my finger if I get a little too much and just tap it off. Looks fine. You can always go back over it with a little black chalk paint once it is completely dry, or black permanent marker. Alright, we're going to give it a minute or two for those beautiful eyes to dry, and then I am going to start making him look beautifully aged. Now you can see, look at that. Look how much. I didn't get enough paint off of there because I'm working on a tiny little surface and I didn't pat the paint out right. But you don't have to worry, because there's a way to fix it, and I will show you how to fix it shortly. Alright, again, adding on, brushing off, adding on, brushing off. And you can see that on his, I think it's on his chest maybe, there's a spot that is just too dark. I'm going to fix it with some black paint. See there on his chest, and then on his head. You can leave it like that. If you want to leave it that way, you can certainly leave it that way, but I want to tone it down just a bit because I'm trying to give it like the hint of it without just being crazy with it. So I'm trying to brush it out just a little bit, and if you can't brush it out enough, go ahead and grab a little bit of your black chalk paint on a smaller brush, tap it off, and then just kind of use it to blend it in. Like you blend your makeup on your jawline, just blend it in. And then if you get done with the process and you think, I hate this, let it dry and paint completely over it. Not a problem. I just knew he had to be part of this family. I knew he needed a makeover, and he needed to be with this set of Dollar Tree paper items that we put together. Had to be. Absolutely had to be. He fits in perfectly with the set. Alright, Okay, so we're going to take some flowers, whichever one you want to use out of your stash. I have some of these beautiful purple cosmos and some of those little silk roses with the rhinestones. I'm going to use some black tulle, this beautiful sign that I got from TEMU. It's just a little fabric sign. Gorgeous. And then this I got it dirt cheap, but you can see that it was from Target. Okay, you're going to need some little hangers for the back if your sign doesn't come with it, and this one did, so I won't have to worry about that. Now these signs so far, and I've used a few of these, they are two-sided, which is wonderful because not only do they look better and more substantial, but you can take these apart and then use the same print 2 times. Talk about save your money. Yeah. By the way, this is not a sponsored video. Not at all. I just really, really like this beautiful flag. So I'm going to just kind of pull it apart, and then, you know, you can have rough edges like this on your project if you want, or you can take the side that still has the little folded seams, and that's what I'm going to use for this one. I'll put the other side for another day, and then I'll try to get the right spacing on here for this sign, and I'm just going to glue it down. I like to start like in the middle once I get my placement right, so I'm not losing my placement. Now I'm double checking there before I press it down. Then I'll go around the bottom, and it does overhang on the sides, so I'll just kind of wrap it around on the sides and glue it down. And then we'll do the same process on the top. Once it's all down, I just want to trim it out. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to, or perhaps you could set it up a little higher on your sign, but I think the embellishments make it look nice, a little more substantial, so we're going to go with that. I'm just using some of this, it's just a little roll of like burlap, meshy type ribbon. I'm going to use that here. Y'all, if you hear my daughter coughing in the other room, we have had a dry spell sort of in Alabama, believe it or not, because it's always seems to be raining here, but we have, and it's been enough to let the weeds and all that kind of stuff thrive. And my husband cut the grass yesterday, and then she went swimming, so she was out there and all that pollen and seeds, grass seeds and all that kind of stuff, so she got kind of a cough this morning, but she's fine, so no worries about that. But just in case you hear some more noise, that's what it is. So now it's all trimmed out. Look how nice and beautiful that looks. You can leave this alone just as is if you like something that is simple, or you can add some embellishments like I am. We're going to take a 9-inch fold, and we're just going to flip it over a few times. So that's 1 fold, 2, 3. Y'all, this does not have to be precise, and you don't have to use as many folds as I do, but the more folds that you make, the more fluffy this is going to be. So that is totally up to you. And like I mentioned before, you can skip this part. And then you can just trim it off when you get it as long as you want it. Now I like to use jute most of the time, but this is so frail, I figured if I put jute on here and kind of cinched it really tight that it might kind of cut through it, so I just decided to use another piece of this tulle, just cut a little strip, and I'll use that to go around the middle. Now you can get tulle at Dollar Tree now, so if you want to do that, you can certainly do that. Now I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to do this just like we would any old bow that we do. Okay, so if you're not used to working with the tulle, it is not a big deal. We're not doing anything real fancy here with this tulle. I just like the wispiness of it, and I feel like it's really that black, wispy, almost kind of a fog or hazy type thing. It's very Edgar Allan Poe-ish, if you will. So, if we're going to go with the raven here, I want to continue that and make it look nice and fluffy and, you know, old and cute. So I'm just going to go through the ends here, and if you don't want to go through the ends and give it kind of little jaggedy cuts, you don't have to. You can always leave it in a loop, but I like the idea of being able to pull this out in all kinds of directions. I'm just tucking this, the little string we made from the tulle, it's over and under that top ribbon, because the top one, I did not glue it straight down. It's not glued down yet. I wanted to have a little space where I could tie something to it. Just a little extra security. Now you can see that the raven is almost like a violet kind of color. It's coming off as like a violet, and there are some other things in the picture that have that purplish look. But rather than calling that a problem because it's not solid black, we're going to go with it because I love the red and the purple and the black and the way this looks together. And I love these Cosmos. I've used these in projects last Halloween and was very satisfied with them. And they came from Dollar Tree, but the quality is fantastic. So I'm just going to cut off the little tab thingies that stick into the wire pieces, but cut those off so that this can be more flat. And I'm just going to glue the leaves straight onto the back of the flower. Always, always, when you get these layered flowers, make sure that you rotate them a little bit because they're in layers, so you can kind of splay them out a little bit rather than have them all clumped up and only looking like 4 leaves. We don't want to do that. See how you can kind of twist it around so you get to fill in all those gaps. See what I'm doing here? Very, very easy. Just a little bit of hot glue to put the leaves back on, and then it's trimming off the little stem part. See this little part? We're going to cut that little plastic off because now everything is connected together, so it's not going to fall apart. And I want to add another one on this side. You see the butterflies on this picture? This is gorgeous. A little more romantic, spooky. What do you think? So yeah, as I was saying, this is for those of you who love that spooky lifestyle and who want to enjoy these mystical and spooky looks through your house all year long, because not everybody is into that, and that's fine. And if you're not ready for this, you know, just save it and you can come back and watch this video at the end of summer or in fall or in October, whatever you would like to do. So this is the final look, and oh my goodness, I love it. My bow, believe it or not, is a little too big up here, or my little fluffy thing. Just trim it down a little bit, fluff it out, kind of like bat wings or moth wings. So you can also cut into these pieces of tulle to give them a jagged edge, kind of snip at it. Pulling at it doesn't really work. I tried that, but that didn't really work. So cut it where you can. Oh, y'all love this. I absolutely love this print, and I'm so inspired by this print. I think you'll see. We have another project where I'm going to be using the raven. Hope you like this one. This I ordered from TEMU because I thought he was beautiful, but I do not like that wood he's standing on. It does not look real. This actually would hang on a wall, I do believe. It's got that little hanger port in the back, but you get a good look at him. Love all the colors they did on him there. I'll use a chocolate brown and a buff, and I'm going to use some spray paint. Spray paint is going to be used for the foam, the bottom, and the cage. This is going to be the bottom. It's actually a sign, but it fits perfectly. Going to use a stem to cut flowers off of, probably the Cosmos that we used. This is about 16 inches for reference. I did get this at the thrift store. So now I'm going to go spray paint it. Foam 2 now, foam 2. Now, while that's drying, we have to address this stick that he's standing on, or this branch that he's standing on, because I'm not digging those unnatural colors. Not for this. So I'm going to take that chocolate brown and go all over where it is brown, and I'm being very careful. This is a rounded tip brush, so I can get into all those little cracks. I can push up to where the other color is, and I don't have to worry about making a big mess. I just feel like I have a little more control. If you like yours that way when you buy it, you certainly can keep it that way. I think I paid like $4 for this. Not really sure. Gorgeous though, going along with our raven theme. And then everywhere that it is that yellow color, I am going to put that buff color. I'm going to dry it, just because for me dry time is important, so I can get these projects out to y'all. You could set it aside and let it dry if you'd like. I'm going to take a really skinny tip brush and go over his eyes. I want those to be black. Black is a dark soul. You know, we're talking about Halloween here. We're being playful here. Okay? I don't go for any of that dark stuff or negativity. Y'all know I stay positive. But this is such a beautiful theme, I think. So romantic and beautiful. Okay, and you know I like my old stuff. I like that old vintage stuff. I'm 50, so I'm into the old stuff. Now I brushed most of the paint off of that brush, and I'm just sort of dry brushing over the little high spots. And now that looks a whole lot more like a stick, in my opinion. So now I need to put this foam down on this wood. I decided to use some of this little nano tape stuff. This is the ones that I got from TEMU. I'm just going to peel that off, stick it down on that foam. There we go. It's a really thick gel-like tape. It doesn't want to stick to the foam by itself, naturally. Nothing ever does, right? But I'm going to push it down into that. I decided, you know what, we're really going to try to make this work. Because the hot glue would kind of melt it, so we're just going to try this and see how it works. And so far, very satisfied with it. It has not come out of place. Now I'm going to put pressure on it and hold it there for, you know, a minute or two so that it really locks down on that wood. It hasn't moved. I've turned it upside down. It's not moving at all. So yes, very happy with that. Yay! Another tool for the toolbox, the crafting toolbox. I'm going to take another piece of that black ribbon, that burlap ribbon, and go around it. Use any ribbon you have. And I know that 1-inch ribbon is very easily found at the Dollar Tree. Hopefully your Dollar Tree will have it, because some people's Dollar Trees have barely anything, unfortunately. Okay, so I'm going to take this, which I also spray painted black, and I'm going to use some of my tape here. This is just some Gorilla Tape, or what would you call this? Something like that? I think it actually is Gorilla Tape. And I'm going to put it down on the back to hold it onto this bird. I don't want him falling, and if I only use hot glue, he may pop off. And I don't have the time to wait on super glue, so I'm going to take my glue gun and go right down the little channel where I put the pieces on. Now to all be locked in together. I'm going to poke it down in my foam where he's fairly centered, and I will add my E6000 around the hole. Just going to use a little stick here to kind of smear it around to make sure that he doesn't come out. Give him time to dry. You'll have a little bit easier of a time. You can find paper shreds at Dollar Tree. I already had these, as they came in something that I got from Shaper Mint, I do believe, or it may have come out of my hair dye box. I'm not sure, but anyway, I'm recycling it from something else. I love to save this kind of stuff, and it looks spooky and scraggly, and I just like it. I'm going to roll it into some little balls because it's just easier to manage that way, and then place those all around. They're not glued on or anything. Then you can see that it fits when I sit it down. Then if you wanted to, you could, you know, cut off your edges to make sure they're nice and straight. But I like that they're kind of fly away. But here it is. My bird's not quite dry. I'm trying to support him a little. Here it is so far. And I'm not going to glue the cage down. I want the option of being able to take this out and use it for something else. So I've got some more of those beautiful Cosmos left. And I'm going to do the same thing as I told you before. Push those around, make them look nice. And you see I've slid the leaves all the way up to the top. That fills in any open spaces or blank spots where you can see through them. It gives it a little more fullness so you don't have to use as much of your florals. Trim down wherever you need to trim down, because I don't want these all at the same height. I want them sort of staggered. I hope y'all saw the owl in the cage that I did last year. I loved it. It was stunning. And, you know, just in my opinion. And a lot of people said, you should have done something different with his eyes. You're totally right, and I think I may go in and add something to his eyes. I'm not sure yet, but I like that the raven has black eyes and a black beak, and the rest of him has that beautiful moonlight look. I'm using the Cosmos because they are something that is in my other projects, so these things are a little more cohesive. Certainly use deep red, black roses, whatever you have. This purple really pops against the rest of that black. This is a really easy in my opinion, project to do. It does take time though, because you got to let glue dry. I really want this to be out there and available for those of you who are ready for it now. What about all those crafters who are getting ready for craft fairs? You need some inspiration. So here you go. Lots of inspiration. This channel is all about budget-friendly DIYs and giving you something that's a little more unique and different. I want you to find pride in your work. I want you to find confidence in yourself and get crafty today. I'm going to be using some black chalk paint, rich espresso, and some metallic. You can also use bronze if that's what you like, or silver. I'm going to use some mounting tape and this beautiful piece of canvas artwork that I got from TEMU. I have a frame that I already had, and I'm going to give it a makeover. It's got a little canvas in here where it's kind of like a fabric, you know. Okay, so we always start by cleaning everything down. We want to have a nice clean background for any paint that we add. That way we don't have any bumps and lumps, and you know, we just want a nice finish. For pieces of fabric on a frame, I like to use any type of a brush to clean that as well. I'm going to take this wonderful chalk paint and I am going to just put it all over the entire front of this frame and down on the sides. When it dries, it will look like this, and what you can see still in the dark areas, that's where it's still a little bit wet, but I'm going to let it dry. It is in the process of drying now. Alright, once it is thoroughly dry, and you can see how matte it is, so you can see that it is thoroughly dry, I'm going to add some of this beautiful paint and just kind of add it to the brush. I'm going to use a chippy brush, and then I'm going to tap a lot of it off. It's going to push that beautiful metallic color up into the bristles, and it's going to make it a little bit lighter when you apply it. And the idea is to make this look like a kind of a bronzed piece, like an aged bronze piece. Now I also have bronze paint, but this one I just liked better. I just liked it better, and it does look still like a bronzy color to me, so that's what I'm doing. So I like to use my strokes back and forth and then go in and also do it from side to side so that it hits all those high points and it gets on those side pieces as well. There's so much detail in this frame. It looked really nice as it was, but I'm choosing warmer tones rather than the cooler tones of the silver and the cream that were on there. The inner lip of this frame is also elevated, so there's just a lot of stuff going on in this frame. I'm going to add and just gradually build up the amount of paint that I put on this section. And the section that is black, that was fabric in there that we covered up, which is still fabric, but it's going to stay black. I want to leave that rich black background for that area. So I just slowly just build it up a little bit at a time till I get it where I like it. And don't worry, if you get a spot that gets a little too much paint, just gonna add a little bit of black on top of it and you'll be fine. So I can't glue directly to this board because whatever this is sheds really bad. So I am just going to hot glue a piece of paper on top of it. And this is part of a video. It's an open playlist called Halloween Palooza with Crafting with Indiana Jones. I'm going to have a playlist link for you, and I want you to go check out all the rest of the creators because there's a bunch of us, and we'll be doing recipes, and we'll be doing gameplay and designing and landscaping and all kinds of cool things. So be sure you check out the playlist when you're done with my video and go and check it out. Support everybody, you know? Support everybody. There's room for everybody in this field that we're in. All right, so I'm going to add some of that mounting tape. My double stick tape was not strong enough to hold this flat, so the mounting tape does a very good job for this. I want to put it as close as I can up to the edge, and I did cut it long ways in half so that it wouldn't show when I press this down. I don't want it to wrinkle, or, you know, I want it to look like it cost a lot of money, not like I paid $3, you know, for it. Alright, so I'm just going to press that down. That mounting tape is like a double stick, so it works really well. I'm going to make sure I don't have any wrinkles, and just if I need to change it, I can change it. And this way, I'm putting it right down on that piece of poster paper, and it'll stay. Now this already has an aged look, which is wonderful, but I want to make it a little darker. So I'm going to grab some of my Waverly wax, and I'm going to get a baby wipe, and I'll rub that in really well, and then I am going to use that to just darken it up a little bit more. I really want this to be moody and dark and slightly gothic. You know, you can kind of use your imagination. Some people are even calling it like a dark cottagecore, which is really cool, I think. I've been adding some darker colors and heavier items to my bedroom, and oh my gosh, I am loving it. It's so cozy. I'm just absolutely loving it. And then I've had quite a few times where I've found some nice older books that are just beautiful, and I'm adding those to my room too, so maybe a little academia too. Who knows? Now be sure that you let that dry. You want that to be completely dry, because if you don't, it's a wax, and every time you touch it, you'll be lifting that off, and you'll have little spots on there. All right, now I'm going to place it back down where it was, and you can see it's a little bit long, but I just let it hang over on the edge, no problem. This was nailed in, and I did not want to nail it in because I like to repurpose things. So I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue and these paint stir sticks to kind of hold this in place. It is elevated above that inner lip, so there's no way to really get it flat across. So this was a really good way for me to support that canvas. I'm going to add some hardware on the back so that it can be hung up properly, not to fall off and break anything. And I'm just showing you what I do. 4 inches from the edge, and then I put it like halfway. You can see it's like halfway from the end. A little bit of hot glue just to hold it in place while I nail it. I'm going to go to the other side and I'll do the same thing. Now the nails that come with this little kit, this came from Dollar Tree, they're very small. So using some type of a plier will help you with that, to help you hold that still while you hammer it. And look at this little beauty. I love this. This did not take a lot of work. This did not take a lot of time, and this is definitely oh my goodness. What you're seeing right now is with the lights on, but I am going to dim my lights a bit in a moment and let you see how it looks when it is dim. I'm absolutely obsessed with the Raven. Look how the light, when the lights are dim, look how it just glows on that picture. Stunning, and I'm loving it. I really do love it, and I love thrifting. I went and got a whole bunch of stuff yesterday. Oh my goodness, I have so much stuff. Okay, this is something that I have thrifted. This is an owl that I thrifted. So a bird cage and an owl. I've had this little owl for a while now too. It's time for a makeover, so we're going to use some flat black paint. Spray paint them, and then this is how they look. Gorgeous. Very pretty. Love the look of it. I've been hanging on to this project too in my head, and finally for Halloween we're gonna come together. Alright, so using some rich wine, burgundy, rust colors, we're gonna make a beautiful little home inside of this bird cage, or whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna use some floral foam to put on the bottom. It doesn't need to fill the entire cage up because you just don't need that much foam, and why waste it if you don't have to use it, right? Grab your cool temp glue, which I did not use, so it immediately started crackling and melting my foam, but if you just quickly press it down and hold it in place, it'll pretty much stay for you. That's my experience at any rate. If you've got a better way of doing it, go right on ahead. So I'm just going to put my glue bottle, not paint bottle, in the middle just to hold that space, so I know when I'm working my project that there's going to be space there for me to put the owl back in. So it's just a space holder, that's all. If you don't need it, then you don't have to do it. I'm going to start working in an A pattern, right, left, side to side, north, south, east, and west. That's what I'm going to do, starting off with my picks on the bottom. If I would have had more picks, I would have used these instead of using the loose leaves that I have to the side, but you never know what you're going to have, and if you're going to run out of something, I'm going to show you what you can do
if you run out of your picks, but you have loose flowers. So you just take old stems from other flowers or other greenery and you just glue them to the back of a beautiful leaf that you like. It's on wire so it too can be bent, and then you just put it in the foam. How easy was that? That was so easy. Now these picks that you see me putting in now are from Target. I got those on 90% clearance year before last, I think. So I've just cut it into pieces because the color is perfect for what I'm looking at. I've got some either eucalyptus or boxwood, whatever this is, that's glittery and black. I've used it in other projects. These were my last two pieces. I'm going to stand those up in the cage for the owl so he will have some privacy in there, a little hiding spot. These little berry picks came off of some of the other greenery. I just pulled them off and I'm just going to stick those in. They're in a deep purple color. It's just gorgeous. And these beautiful flowers, I don't know what these are. They look like camellias to me, but they are stunning. They're just beautiful. I'm going to add those around here and there. They were thrifted as well, y'all, but I know you can get them at Hobby Lobby because at my walkthrough, I saw them. Now for this one, I am going to pull the center out in the first top few layers because I want this to make a little nest. What I'm doing now is taking a wood carving tool and stabbing down on top of the leaves that I glued on the bottom. I don't know where that clip is, but I glued some down. I made that little slice so that we could put the stem from this right down on the inside. It needs to sit nice and flat because this flower is going to be the base or the nest where the owl is going to sit. So it needs to be flat. I'm going to hold it down with my hand for a while, and now you can see it forms like a little nest. Do you ever do something when you're crafting and you're like, that is just, you shock even yourself because you think, wow, that's pretty cool. I love it when a project comes together, y'all. I'm telling you right now, I'm not vain, I'm not egocentrical, I'm not stuck up, but when something works out right, I kind of want to pat myself on the shoulder. And then I can show it to you, right? And then you can do it. Doesn't he look happy in there so far? Okay. So giving him a chance to dry, let that glue dry, I'm going to go ahead and cover up the foam that is in the front with a couple of leaves. Same colors that I already have kind of going on there. And I'm using these colors again because I feel like they're elegant, they're jewel tone, they're just really beautiful and dark and mysterious. Oh, I just love it. And then once I close the cage, because the bird is in there and he's happy where he's supposed to be, I'm going to add one flower right into the front with the, where we already had those leaves, which is glued down. So that's where that flower went, right into there. It went right through the leaves into the foam. Now I'm going to turn it from side to side and make sure that it looks fairly symmetrical, nice and even, and that there's an even amount of thickness in the foliage and in the flower, so there's no gaps and everything looks pretty and neat. You lift it up and look around and make sure everything's like it should be. And so here I found a little space that needs a little more foliage, so I'm just going to take another pick, same beautiful colors, and just push that in there. And this is how it will look. I really like this one, y'all. Very pretty. All right, so here's our beautiful owl. Here's our happy owl. I had a couple of scratches on it where I was putting it in the frame, kind of scratching it on the metal, and I just used a paint pen and stuck it through the cracks in the cage and just dotted over, you know, where I had scratched a little paint off. It's poison on the napkin, right? So we're going to use a flameless candle. This one is about 6-7 inches tall. The napkin's from Dollar Tree. It's a Mod Podge. We're going to use some of this shimmer mist, some gold paint. Okay, we're going to start by taking our napkin, laying it out. We are going to tear the bottom corner because this is the easiest way to separate the layers, in my opinion. So I'm just going to tear that part. It's not the part we're going to use, so it doesn't matter that it's torn. And I'm going to trim off what I need. I've already laid the candle down. I know how tall it basically needs to be. And I'm going to trim off the black edges, but I'm going to leave the bottom edge black. So, I love this napkin. They did a really good job on this one. There's a really pretty spider one too that I saw in some people's videos, but I can't find that one at my store. So, this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to trim this off so that I don't have a big overlap, but I do want it to overlap a tad. So I could have had 2 bottles and 1 raven, or 2 ravens and 1 bottle. Whichever way you want to do yours is totally fine. I'm going with the poison here. I'm going to add Mod Podge all over my flameless candle, and this sticks nicely. It does have like a waxy coating, so I guess you could heat it up, whatever, but this is just the quickest way for me to show you how to do it. I'm going to add it down so that it is nice and lined up with that black line on the bottom. That's going to be our border line. And just gently, gently fold and press. You have to be careful. This is 1 ply. This is a Dollar Tree napkin, and it could tear, so you got to be very careful. So now I'm going to go over the edge, and I'm just going to brush away from the seam so that I don't pull it back up. And I'm going to go all the way around the candle with the Mod Podge. I'm going to use a lighter to take the edges off the top. Be very careful. This is not for children. My videos are not for children. If you don't want to do it this way, you can just fussy cut it, no problem. Now is the fun part. I'm going to trace the bottles and the bird with the hot glue. We're going to raise this up so we can give some dimension. I'm going to go around the neck of the bottle and just carefully go around the entire thing. Now this is my Sure Bonder glue gun. It is not a fine tip gun, but it's working fine for this project. It gave me fits for a little while, but I guess it was clogged up. If you leave your gun on too long unattended, the glue will melt in there, and then it kind of clogs up a little bit, but you can get it out. Alright, so we're going to continue around. I want to do the head of the skull, the crossbones, the details of the feathers, and then when it's all done it looks like this, and then you're going to have to set it aside and let it dry. Once it's dry, you can start adding like a drippy wax edge. This is new for me too. I've seen lots of people do it, but I've never done it myself, and I thought it was perfect for this grungy poison candle. I think this is going to look great with the eek sign. So I'm going to continue around and just make a line of glue and let it drip and run down. If your glue is drying too quickly, maybe you don't have a very steady hand, you can use your hair dryer, or you can use a heat gun like I have here, and just turn the candle so nothing warps, but let that glue kind of run down a little bit. And I did 3 layers of this on the top, and I just kept adding to it and letting it drip down so it looked like a very old candle that's been used a lot. It's in an old scary haunted house, or beautiful, you know, it's your opinion, whichever way. It might not be scary to you. And we want it to look like it's been there forever. We want it to look like it's been a well-used candle. We want it to look like it's been sitting in the dust and the grossness, and that's where this little shimmer spray comes in handy. Check this out. Look at the automatic age you get with that. Perfecto! I did not know what this stuff was when I picked it up at Goodwill. I had no idea what it was, but somebody told me it was for crafting, so I grabbed it and then started playing around with it and realized what a perfect way to age something. So yeah, I mean, if you've ever used this stuff before, you can put in the comments where it came from, what you use it for, because I'm loving it, and I will definitely be putting this back to use next year for Halloween as well. Alright, so I'm going to use some of that black and the antiquing wax and just go all over this. I really want to get in the spaces where the wax is and where the hot glue is. Well, you know what I mean. So that it looks really like dust has been in the wax and it's been just sitting up. Oh yeah. Yes, this thing looks very old. Would you agree? Do you think it does? I think that just really made so much of a difference. Mm-hmm.
Click the box below for more.